Welcome to Soccerheads New England, episode 18. We're going to call this one COVID Contingency, 20 Questions with Hall of Fame high school soccer coach Dave Crowell. And I'm Dave Rattigan, former award-winning sports journalist, now a comedian and college professor and collector of bottles and cans. Paul Nardizzi and Jim Ruberti are my usual co-hosts, but this week they both got socked with COVID. Jim's got it in the house and Paul's got it himself. And they're on the mend, hopefully. Or Paul's on the mend, hopefully, and Jim's already had it. So they're going to be here. Who knows? Maybe next week, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you know that Jim is never here, which, frankly, we like. But Paul usually is. We didn't do a show last week, so for the sake of continuity, someone had to save the day, come swooping in here like a superhero and save the day. And it sure wasn't going to be me, and it wasn't going to be our engineer, Dale Lawrence, who's here. Hi, Dale.
Hey, how are you, Dave? Thank you.
I'm doing great. And Dale's here. We put him in a glass case, and if we need something, we break the case, kind of like we used to my baseball teammates used to suggest we do with my glove. And with us is my guest, my longtime friend, and Paul Nardizzi's idol, coach at St. John's Prep in Danvers, former state champ, former coach of the year, and inducted in 2021 into the Eastern Massachusetts Soccer Coaches Association Hall of Fame, Dave Crowell. Dave, thanks for coming and saving the day.
Thanks, and I didn't even bring my cape.
I know. I'm surprised by that. Frankly, I lost a bet with Dale over it. I figured, watch him when he comes in. He'll do this. But, he did. You did insist that we come and walk you from your car, so I won that bet. Just like Paul and Jim, Dave's a former college soccer player at Salem State. He's a soccer parent, a huge fan of World Cup and European League and Revolution MLS soccer play. And do you still play? You're in the over 70 league now?
I was in the over 50 league, but once COVID started, I stopped and put on a few pounds. And
you think you're going to get back to it?
Probably not.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
I miss it. Did a lot of people stop playing?
Yeah. And, and again, a lot have gone back, but again, with my age, it's part of trying to get back in shape, and you know how that is.
I do know how that is. And once you put on those 50 or 60 pounds, it is tough to get back into shape. Although you could argue that everything's a shape, isn't it?
Yeah, everything is a shape. Fair enough.
All right. That's not one of our questions, by the way. Check us out, by the way, at soccerheadsnewengland.com. We have a Facebook page, or email us at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. And if you like the podcast, please share it, because I'm told that this sport is loved by millions of people all around the world, but none of them listen to our podcast.
It's billions, actually.
What's that? Oh, when I say millions? Sorry. All right. Billions of people around the world. Which is a larger number, the people who love soccer or the ones that eat at McDonald's?
Well, the fact that your shtick of a billion people over the world has been for years now, I'm surprised you got it wrong. I just wanted to correct you.
I wasn't paying attention. Dale knows that I usually don't pay attention to this podcast. Well, congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. And this is not one of our questions, but let me ask you this. Isn't the induction into the Hall of Fame just a message from the other coaches in the soccer world that they think you're old and it's time for you to hang it up?
Yeah, I did get a text when this thing went out on Twitter from an old friend who said congratulations. I thought you had to have one foot in the grave to get into something like this. So I thought that was a great line.
That's pretty funny. Well, they probably figured, let's induct him while he's alive. He's only got so much time to go. Here's what we're going to do. Jim and Paul gave me some questions. I threw in a few of my own. We can't talk about anything. Dale, let me tell you this. I have stories about Dave Crowell going back a long time, and you won't hear any of those on the podcast because we don't want him to lose his job.
Absolutely
and
not.
His reputation as a
We
fine
probably can't bleep that out during the podcast either.
No, but maybe we'll get him in for another one, and he'll let his guard down. I'm trying to get him with Paul, because they've got this thing of they're like a couple of storm clouds. And it's not that I think that Paul would reach over the table and punch him because he's a soccer player who wouldn't use his hands, but they might go head to head, so to speak, and it'd be just like a couple of coconuts.
Well, we do have boxing gloves here in this house.
They won't use their hands. They're soccer players. But we'll try to get you in on a future episode. Maybe next week. We have a great topic next week, which I can't tell you about. But let's talk about this. So here's what we're going to do this week. We got 20 questions. Paul gave me some. Jim gave me some. I came up with some of my own. And I'll just ask you, and you answer them, and we'll go from there, okay?
All right, we'll give it a shot.
So talking about all right, I'm going to give you a couple of warm-up questions. I'm going to cover high school soccer, your own personally experienced coaching, and I said teaching life, but I don't know if I have any teaching questions because who cares about teaching? Observations on pro soccer, the fan experience, and life as a soccerhead. So we're going to give you a couple of warm-up questions, all right?
All right. A couple of softballs. I'm surprised you didn't use that phrase.
Well, I don't want to. I know how you get mad about certain sports. Anyway, this is from Paul. These are all from Paul Nardizzi. How does it feel to be a podcast to go on a podcast one time and have better attendance than the co-host?
I'm not surprised by it, frankly.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I'm serious about this. Jim Ruberti last sat in that chair right there 3 weeks ago that you're in. How warm is the seat?
Oh, I get it. More appearances. It's very cold. Very cold. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question at first.
What do you think? What do you think it was? What do you think? It was
that there would be more people listening because I was on it as opposed to Paul.
No one's going to listen to
this.
Don't worry about that. Did you ever meet Nancy Kerrigan?
Yes, I used to mow Nancy Kerrigan's lawn.
Really?
Yes,
in Linfield.
In Linfield, when I had my landscaping business. Yes.
Okay. She's famous for saying, and this is from Paul. She's famous for saying, "Why? When Dave Rattigan asked you to be on the podcast, what level were your why screams?
About as high as a falsetto can get.
All right, so now we're warmed up. You're warmed up?
I'm warmed up.
And I got to interrupt you because we got to do plugs. This is Jim's favorite part of the show. Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. At 978-857-7573. Rick speaks at free seminars for soccer clubs, youth leagues, and the public. He'll help get your kid into college, athlete or not. Rick is also my financial advisor, and without his advice, Dave Crowell, I'd probably be living in your basement. To have Rick come speak to your club, team, league, or group, or to check out one of the free seminars in your area, call him at 978-857-7573. Also, if your organization needs to raise money and you want to have a great time doing it, you should hire the Soccerheads Experience. It's more than a comedy show. It's an event that your community will never forget with soccer-themed humor and giveaways and all kinds of extra stuff. Want to make money and have fun? Email Jim Ruberti at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. Those are the plugs.
Get it. Heard them before.
You've heard them before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you're a loyal listener.
Right.
I'm a loyal listener. I don't believe it. But, all right, well, let's go to the questions. You ready for the questions?
I'm ready.
All right, we're just going to go bang, bang, bang. How's that? Is that good, Dale?
Absolutely.
Dale, does
faster the better.
Yeah.
Faster you're out of here, Rattigan, the better it is for me.
All right, Dave, here you go. We know you're a soccer head. When you got married and you moved into your new house, what was your wife's reaction when she walked in and she saw that you had hung the framed portrait of Alexi Lalas over the fireplace?
She got it, and she let it stay for a couple of weeks, but then we had to take it down.
Was it like in the scene Diner where Daniel Stern makes it? Was it Daniel Stern who made his potential fiance answer a bunch of baseball trivia questions?
I think they were football questions. I'm not sure, but
they were
yes,
sports trivia questions.
Yes.
Did you grill her?
No.
All right. Has it caused any rift in the relationship that she was a better soccer player than you?
It's been hard to swallow, but it is what it is.
Okay. That's all the first question, by the way. There are a couple. This is from Paul. Has anyone broken into the Coaches Association Hall of Fame and tried to remove your plaque from the hall yet?
Not yet, but I'm sure Paul's already making a plan.
He did ask for the address of the place. Is this a physical place, or is it just kind of a virtual thing?
Well, it is physical, but with the COVID, everything's been virtual the last couple of years.
Wait, physical as in how?
There is I believe there's a building somewhere.
You believe there's a building somewhere? It's like the museum?
Well, again, well, probably no. Why would they? No, I'm thinking of the MIAA. No, there is no building.
Okay. I'm thinking they've got 40 I mean, it's a good thing to get. It's a good thing to get.
They don't have 40 members. They have hundreds and hundreds of members.
40
inductees. Right.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean voters. I didn't mean. I see what you're saying. All right. So there are 40 inductees.
Correct.
All right. And you probably know a lot of these inductees, right?
I'm surprised. I went over the list, and a lot of them are long retired,
right?
So I don't know them. But yeah, there's a handful in there I know.
All right. Len Emmons?
Absolutely. First guy that came to mind for me.
Okay, yeah, that's the first guy that came to mind for me. A lot of other guys from
From North Shore guys?
Well, no, guys that you know.
Well, Don Brock, who coached at Needham forever. When I played in the state tournament in 1976, we played Needham when I was at Beverly, and Don Brock was the coach of Needham High School. So the first time we played them, I brought that up, and he didn't think it was funny. He says, yeah, I hear that a lot.
What rule drives you crazy in high school soccer?
The fact that we can call a timeout. Only, as far as I know, only in Massachusetts. There are no timeouts in soccer. The whole idea is you want to impose your will, your system on the other team. It takes time to do that, first 20, 25 minutes of the half. So you begin to take over the game and dominate the game, and the other guy can just call a timeout, make adjustments. So that's not soccer. Okay. But for some reason...
You're a purist. You want the game that is played at the high school soccer level to be the game that's played for high school soccer to be the same game that's played internationally, MLS.
Yeah, you're changing the rules of the game. You're changing the makeup of the game by being able to call it a timeout and make substitutions. And
these are younger kids. You're trying to help them learn to develop.
Well, again, the MIAA and all their brilliance was the idea was that if
you're not going to make the MIAA Hall of Fame talking like that.
If there were kids getting getting a little worked up, a little hostile, then the coach could notice that and call a timeout and get the kids off the field and get them separated.
There were a lot of okay,
right, but nobody. That first of all, that's the referee's job. Number one, and number two, again, nobody uses it for that purpose.
Right, they use it to stop momentum and run plays and,
which
and
is
change
not,
strategy.
Which is
I get
soccer.
it. I get that. I get that. All right.
The only reason I will call a timeout if we're blowing somebody out or being blown out, and to try to make adjustments. And I'll be honest, if there's a few seconds left on the clock and it goes out of bounds for a corner kick, I'll call a timeout then to make sure we can get the corner in.
So you use it. You don't like it, but you use it.
I use it
sometimes strategically. Usually the
reason it's made. That they made it, basically. Again, if we're blowing somebody out and it's the first half and we're already up 4-0, then I've got to make some adjustments so we don't embarrass people.
Okay. MIAA, by the way, is Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association.
Yes. And
they basically are the governing body for high school sports in Massachusetts. Coaches talk about the difference between playoff football or hockey versus regular season in high school. How do you think the tourney games differ, not for the players, but for you as a coach?
Well, it's the reason I'm still coaching. I love the state tournament.
Okay.
But how it differs is, it's one and done. So you've got to keep the kids calm, collected, and keep yourself calm and collected.
So you also scout games?
It's rare that you get the opportunity to do that, and normally I don't do that until we're a couple of games in.
Okay.
If I get a chance to send like an assistant coach to scout a game, but I've found over the years that it's not really all that helpful, especially in the early rounds, because tournament games are just different than other games. So you can have a really good team that just, if you're a big favorite, you're behind and it gets to be mid-second half, kids start to freeze up. They start to panic. So you're seeing a totally different team than you might normally see under, during the regular season.
Oh, that's interesting. Your own kids. It's
across the board.
Sides.
Absolutely.
If you've also got strength of league in the early rounds of a high school tournament, you have strength of league, and you have a lot of teams that are great on paper because they've done great in their league, but they don't do great in the tournament because they're not in a really competitive league.
Right. You see, you should have done your research because there's a new MIAA rule this year that
you're not the first person to say that to me. All right.
They rank the teams 1 to 32 statewide now. There is no more Northeast, Southwest brackets.
Right.
So teams that are 18-0 are not necessarily the number 1 seed. They might be the number 12 seed or 16 seed, depending on strength of schedule.
Okay. So let's say this: I beat my league, so I'm a low. I'm in a bad league. I win a lot of games, and I'm a low seed, and you're a high seed, and we play in the first round, and I've got a better record than you. All right. So therefore, I go into the game, and your team beats my team pretty handily. Doesn't that exactly make the point that I just made?
No,
all the time I get people who say, you didn't do your homework. And then it's like they talk about something that's completely nonsense that doesn't have anything to do with the question I just asked.
Well, your question was that these teams get high seeds.
You just like to argue, man. You just like to argue.
Teams get high seeds because they play
right
a weak record.
What's that? Say it again.
You were saying that teams get high seeds because they play in a weak league. That doesn't apply anymore, is all I was trying to say.
I'm sorry. I thought I said teams come in with a